Greetings collectors and welcome to today's retro game review. You join today in part 3 of the Alone in the Dark mini-series. During this series we'll be revisiting the original Alone in the Dark trilogy, as well as the spin-off game Jack in the Dark, The New Nightmare, and we'll also take a shorter look at the more recent attempts to reboot the franchise. Last time we took a look at the rather excellent Alone in the Dark 2. The original had set the bar for horror fans, and part 2 began to open up the series as a contender to own the mystery adventure genre. With an aging game engine though, Alone in the Dark 3 was going to have to do something special to retain its fans. It was now 1994 and polygons were nothing special. CD-based adventure was the norm, and a little game called Resident Evil was knocking its bloody fists on the door. Whilst PC gaming was still popular in 1994, the 32-bit generation was slowly working its way into our homes. So, how to complete a trilogy? We'd had haunted houses, ghost pirates, it was now time for a ghostly vision of the Wild West. Alone in the Dark 3 sets out its stall as a continuation of Edward Carnby's journey of his ongoing supernatural private eye business. He's called to investigate the disappearance of a film crew at Slaughter Gulch, located in the Mojave Desert in California. Several people have been taken, including Emily Hartwood. Jeremy Hartwood's niece from the original game is one of the missing people. See, we had a use for this character all along. The curse of an evil cowboy called Jed Stone is responsible for the crew's disappearance, and it's Edward's mission to stop him. Right from the off, you'll appreciate that this is quite a departure from the original game scenario, but don't fear, there is plenty to enjoy here. The graphics are arguably the best of the original trilogy, and the soundtrack is also suitably strong for the series. I have to say that in terms of a personal preference, Alone in the Dark 3 is the game I'd rather play over the second entry of the series. It feels that more time was taken, and the overall design of the gameplay is much more satisfying. For a 1994 release though, the game certainly didn't have the impact of the original. Textures are certainly better here than the previous games, but the relatively low polygon count for the day ages this game quite badly. Throw into this the creaking control system, and Alone in the Dark 3 isn't an easy game to replay when you know there are better games of a similar style now out there. The theme itself is rather pleasing. The Wild West locations provide plenty of cinematic opportunity, and there are some suitably eerie camera angles to get you in that survival horror mood. Add into this an improved menu system including difficulty settings, then you find that the developers probably got the best of what they could out of the original concepts and 3D engine. For collectors, the physical presentation of Alone in the Dark games has always been a big draw, with additions of the Mystery Examiner, the weapons book, and the code cards, etc. Alone in the Dark 3 fares okay, but not great in my opinion. The game was released on CD only, so no discs to enjoy. There's also nothing too special in the way of additional box content. You'll have to be satisfied with the CD case inlay manual. There's also the game brochure, as well as the warranty and registration cards. For a collector, the only real piece of interest though is the Mystery Examiner newspaper. We're now in July of 1925, and the news of Curse is rife. There are also the trademark links to previous events in the series, subtext around the movie subplot, and mentions of the health potion. There's also the compulsory advert for the latest guns. Of the 3 Mystery Examiners, I found this edition to be the least engaging, although I still really appreciate it as an add-in to immerse the audience. PC Zone magazine awarded this one 95%, and I can't help feeling that this was slightly out of loyalty rather than merit. Don't get me wrong, all of the original trilogy are still worth playing, and all add something a little different to the series. However, Alone in the Dark 3 does little to add to Edward's character development, and you'll get quite a way into the game without ever really feeling those standout moments as you did in the original. I guess what I'm saying is that the third instalment is where the series began to feel stale. The formula had been interesting and new enough first time around. The second game placed more of an emphasis on the action. Alone in the Dark 3 marries these well, but the end result just isn't as memorable as it should be. I would certainly argue that a 4th game with the original game engine would have been a disaster, so the series ended at the right time. Not on a high, but a dignified trilogy in 1994. We had seen 3 consecutive years of Alone in the Dark releases, and that was good enough for the time being. With games such as Resident Evil picking up the threads of Alone in the Dark, it was a smash hit in the following year, which is a great testament to what Infogrames had started. This even prompted the ill-fated release of Alone in the Dark 2 on the PlayStation and Sega Saturn. However, it wasn't enough to showcase the series, and the franchise couldn't easily be progressed in its current state. The original trilogy remains important, but was far from the end of the Alone in the Dark series of games. After a 7-year wait, a new nightmare was coming. Join me in the next episode to see how something unusual in the gaming world was about to happen. A reboot.